I'll start the webinar with a brief introduction to the software and why you'll want to use XPSITE3D for road and site design. Then we'll cover the live demonstration in 3 parts, starting with model setup and road design tools, then moving on to interfacing volume and earthworks tools, and finally looking at some of the advanced road design tools. There's far more than we can show in this first webinar, but we'll be sure to cover that in future webinars. For those that don't know XP Solutions, we are a world-leading provider of software, and we've been around for quite a long time, almost 25 years. You may know us already for our water-based products, XP Swim, XP Storm, and XP Rafts, which are used by a wide range of organisations around the world. And now we are launching XPSITE3D, so moving into site and road design. And this package offers a range of easy-to-use tools with automated design functions for designing site and road layouts. So as I mentioned, I'll run through some of the reasons why you'd want to use XPSITE3D. It has engineering built in to the expert system. So when you're laying out your roads, junctions and roundabouts, they can be fully automated in terms of the design or adjusted to your specific requirements and specifications. And as those are designed and included in your model, the advanced triangulation uses true curve geometry. So you'll see in the software the high level of detail that's included. The other thing you'll pick up today is the easy to use and intuitive workflow. I'm going to be using the software and talking at the same time, which should demonstrate that easy to use interface. And you'll see that as I have to change the design and make adjustments, those iterations just happen very quickly. All of that's displayed across 3 project views, a long section or profile view, plan and 3D, and we can look at those individually or all at the same time as well. The software allows you to save time. It's very fast, has low hardware requirements, so doesn't slow down your computer, and has built-in features to help pick up errors and flashes and so on, so that as you move through your design you don't have to spend a lot of time checking at the very end of it. And of course, as you would expect, there's a wide range of import and export options. So XPSITE3D can read in 2D surveys, 3D surveys, a whole range of other CAD and GIS data formats, and also produce usable outputs in those formats as well. It also links with 3D mapping tools such as Google Earth, and I'll show you the other export formats that are available. So onto the live demonstration. In this first section, we will start with model setup and road design tools. So we'll look at creating our surface, then designing our road channels, adding junctions and roundabouts, and that will take us to the end of the first section. Now to just take a quick look back at our completed model to remind us what it is we're going to be designing. So this will look familiar as we run through the software. We'll start with a new job, and the first phase is to load in our ground survey. So we have here, you can see a wide range of options available for us to choose. We're going to choose a drawing file which contains the 3D survey. Just like that, it's been loaded and immediately triangulated. And you can see on the 3D view here that we can zoom in and move around and see the detail of that 3D survey. As well as the options through the open menu, we could also have used the 2D to 3D converter. So this can actually read text levels from a CAD file, for example, and convert them into a 3D model just as quickly as you saw we loaded in the 3D survey then. It's also very easy to edit individual survey points or make changes to your design. So if we select the plan view and the edit surface option, we can actually use the option here to edit a point. If we select something down in this bottom corner away from where we're planning to add the roads, and we'll just increase that level, and straight away the surface retriangulates and includes that new level in the design. We can then actually colour the surface according to the height and add contours to both the 2D and the 3D surface, and of course we've got a huge amount of contours around that particular point where we've just increased it. I'll turn those off for now so we can see what we're going to be importing next. So we could add a number of different surfaces and layouts in the drawing using the import option, and we'll first of all import a layout. So we load another DXF file and it just puts our layout over the top on our plan view, and we're still using the edit toolbar, so I'll just close that one down. And now if we zoom in, we can see some details here of what it is we're going to design. Having loaded in another model, in our layer manager we've now got these two files that we've loaded listed separately. So the top option will add all the layers that we're going to be designing. We've then got the first one and the second, and we could use the tick boxes here to use the colours from the original files. We could also change which layers actually contribute to the existing surface, and even add layers from another file to create a new surface as well. So all of that's there if we need to do that. Before we begin the road design, I'll take you through an introduction to the toolbar. So we have the File, Edit and View menus, which cover what you would expect. Then we have the menus working across in the workflow you would be most likely to use for your road and site design. So the surface menu, road menu, then drainage for laying out our drainage, houses, and then a number of tools and window options, as you would expect. These menu items that are used most often have been set up as little intuitive toolbar items as well. So for example, we might want to start with our road centerline tools, and we just have a little toolbar here that makes that a lot easier to complete without going back to the menu. You can spend your time on the engineering design and don't have to learn how to use all the other complicated bits of the interface. So now we can begin our road design. And the principle we'll be following is setting up the road centre lines first, which are laid out on our drawing, and then applying road profiles to each centre line. If you don't have the luxury of such a detailed road layout, we do have construction tools up here which allow you to do things such as create a parallel or find the midpoint of a line and snap to those items if you have a little less detail. I've used a trial license here today so that you'd be able to see what you can actually have a go at with the software, and I'll explain at the end of the webinar how you can access a trial license, and then you can give the software a go with your own data and files as well. So I'll select New Centerline, and I'm going to pick the first snap tool there and begin with our first road, and then picking the snap to arc option so that we can use the existing curves that are part of the drawing. Make sure we get the end point okay, and then finish that road. Our centre line immediately appears on the 3D view, but really it's when we add the channels that we get to see more details. So this shows the flexible options that we've got for creating the left and right side of the channels, either to be identical or differently, and the curbs and footpaths in a similar way as well. So all of our default options could be changed, and they could actually be saved as a preset value into a template to allow you to match local standards and reuse your most commonly used profiles. Rather than typing in the numbers here, I've got the option to pick off the drawing. So using the snap to point along a line tool, I'm going to pick that one, and we've got a fraction of a meter there. That's probably a mistake on the drawing, or just a very slight numerical inaccuracy, so we can just edit those as well and then put in our first road. So that's appeared on the plan and the 3D view, as we can see, and the default option is to just connect the two ends where they interact with the existing surface. So some of our road is above the ground and some of it is below the ground. To check how those channels have been put in, we can also turn on the road contours. I'll just add in an extra 0 to show those intervals in a bit more detail, so we can see that that road's been created to nicely drain as we would want that to be designed. Now we'll add a couple more roads, so we just pick our centerline tool again, and we've got our snap option. Oh, pick the right one there, and we can just connect in that second road. In the same way, we can add the channels just by picking them off the road, and automatically XPSITE3D detects that we need a junction, so we don't need to design that separately. And it happens to have picked the correct values for our junction radii, but if we wanted to play around with these, we could do that in this little interface and just check we get the right numbers to match our layout behind, or if we don't have a layout already, we might know exactly what numbers we want to put in there. So we create the junction that appears on both our plan and 3D view, and then we add our third road in as well, just connecting that one and adding the channels in the same way, and detecting the junction again. So here, to match our layout behind, we can just change those values, see what is the correct number in there. So I'll create that junction, and again, automatically with the contours, that all gets added and updated on both of our drawings. And the underlying tin is actually a very high quality, so the road and the curbs and everything else have a lot of detail in them, which means you don't have to worry about that when you're doing your design. You can just get on and think about the engineering side of the design. Once we've added in a few roads, really we want to now start thinking about the vertical alignment of the road, and we can do this with the long section or profile view. I'll set this up so we're going to be able to see what we're doing. The other thing to mention is that I'm using a laptop here, so screen resolution is quite small. Hopefully you'll be designing across multiple large screens. That also gives you an idea of that the software doesn't need a big powerful machine, but I've just set that up so we'll still be able to see what's happening in the drawing and the 3D view behind. So as I mentioned, we're connecting just where we interface with the existing surface, so we need to add some intersection points here, and we'll just add another one here, and then down at this end. Probably not going to be very good for driving over there, so we can add curves into the design, and we can do those by eye as you've just seen, or we can actually type the details in as well if we do know the exact values there. All the while the whole design has been updating. I'm going to move this design, leave it a little bit above our existing surface, so that we'll be able to see some of the other functionality as we go through the webinar. This long section can also be edited so that it shows all the details that we would want to include in a fully engineered output. So you can change the colours, the spacing, and what's included in there as well for adding those profiles to your drawings. So if we close that one and just zoom out a little bit, down at this end of our drawing we can see on our layout there's a roundabout and a couple more roads, so we'll just make sure that we'll be able to see what we're adding here, and then carry on adding a few of our roads and just zoom in to the one curve in this road that we want to make sure we get, and finish that road at the point of the roundabout. If we add in the channels here again in the same way, now instead of the software automatically detecting a junction, it's automatically detected a roundabout. So when we connect two roads end to end, we have the roundabout option, and when we connect one road that intersects another road, we get offered the option for a junction. We can say no to these options, but they're useful for making the design a bit quicker. So again, we've got the option to update any of these default values. It's quite a tight little roundabout here on this housing estate, so I need to make some of those a bit smaller. That looks like a better design. And then again, we see it created fully in 3D with all the curves and grading that we would expect. If we now pick our roundabout tool instead of the centerline tool, we can edit any of those details we've just seen on the roundabout. We can also move the roundabout. So we could just pick it up, maybe we've got it not quite in the right place, move it, or move it back again and snap into our correct position. I'll just make sure that I've got that on the circle there, snap that in. And we've also got tools for editing the connecting road junctions. I'll add a final road, this one here, and then we'll look at some of the roundabout junction details as well. So we'll snap to the arc and then come all the way down, snap into the roundabout, and that one has not quite snapped onto the right point, so I'm just going to make sure that there we go, get that one right on the end there. And now I can add the channels, picking them off the drawing in the same way as before. So our third road's caused a little redesign of our roundabout. And what we want to do now is go back and edit this horizontal roundabout junction so that we are looking a little better, matching to our road layout behind. So again, as I said, it's a pretty small road, so we're going to edit these road widths, and having set those up to match the drawing behind, we've now got the XPSITE3D has automatically detected that there's space for a splitter island. We could accept this default island, or we could actually use the manual options here to change the details of that island. We'll cover all the details of editing roundabouts and working in the horizontal and vertical to get those exactly as you would need in another webinar, but that just gives you an idea of the type of tools that are available. So just to summarize what we've done there, very quickly we've set up our model with some roads, junctions and roundabouts, which we've demonstrated some of their automated tools that help to save time in detecting where these should be included, and some of the details of them as well. We'll now move on to a short section on interfacing and earthworks. So we'll look at road grading for the roads we've added into our design. We'll also look at some of the surface volumes you might need to calculate, and just mention some of the other earthworks tools, but again, we'll cover those in a future webinar. So if we go back to our design there that we've started, and we will just zoom out so we can see a bit more of the design. And here we have interfacing tools, interfacing or grading. We can use either term. And what we'll start with is adding the grading to our road. So here we've got a default of a 1-in-3 slope. We could change that. We can also add in steps. So we're going to add an additional section which will allow us to include a flat section or flattish 1-in-10 slope, just a metre width there to make sure that we have a flat edge to our road before we then go into the 1-in-3 slope. If we tick the force option, this means this will always be included, so regardless of if our road grade interfaces with the existing surface exactly, by ticking the force that will always be included, then it will be a case of a 1-in-3 slope up or down to the existing surface. We could untick the mirror cut fill and change that, and we could change the left and right side as before. I'll use the option to apply this only to the selected road, so we can see on our plan view where those sections of grading have been applied, and if we exaggerate the 3D view we can see that in a bit more detail here as well. So as we look down our road we can see this first flat section. I pulled that road right up above the surface, so we've got quite a long section there. And if we just turn off the height on the 3D view, it's a bit easier to see that as well. Turn that back on. And it's very easy if we wanted to then extend this. So if we pick the same road again, we can apply that to all remaining roads, and then that gets included on all of the remaining roads as well. If we just zoom out to look at the whole design again, you can see the whole of the site's been now set up with road grading. As well as the interfacing there, we'd obviously want to obtain cut and fill volumes for all of the roads. We also have the option to compare different surfaces. So at the moment we've only got our existing surface and all of the design work we've included here. But we could add in any number of additional surfaces. So for example, if we add in this dig out surface, that adds a new model, and we might need to do this, for example, if there's some topsoil that needs to be removed for contaminated land. So having imported our new surface, we can go to the surface menu and select volumes and just select that new surface that we imported and our existing surface. So you can just see the red outline on this drawing here, and if we click on volumes, it's now going to compare the two. So that would mean we'd need just over 13,000 metres cubed of cut and just under 80 metres cubed of fill, and we have a more detailed volume report given to us down the bottom there. As well as comparing two surfaces using the interfacing, we might want to add additional earthworks on site. So with the general earthworks tool, we can create new sections of earthworks where we're moving material around. We can also create ponds, so we can see how much cut and fill we need for those. But we'll demonstrate both of those features in a later webinar. So again, very quickly there, we've shown how the roads can be graded and how you can work with different surface volumes. And now we'll move on to the final part of the demonstration, where we look at some of the advanced road design tools. So there's a number of different things you may want to edit other than the just the vertical profile that we've shown for the road. There might be widenings, parking bays, drainage strips, footpaths, adding car parks, and a whole number of other different features. We won't have time to cover them all, but we will show how to do a simple road widening, and then we'll just have a look at our final design again and review some of those additional features that have been included there. So if we go back to the software again, this time I've opened up a design that is part completed. So here we can see we've got some of the roads have been included. We've actually got a few houses included on the site here. We've got a speed table. There's a pond being included. We're going to focus on this area of the site. So if we zoom in here, we'll be able to see what it is we're going to design. And already we've got included one road widening in the road just here. That road widening we can tell by the contours. See, we've got the speed bump there. But we can tell by the contours that road widening shares the same grade as the existing road channel. There might be any number of reasons why we don't want that to be the case. Drainage is obviously a key reason. So we'll add this road widening, which might be, say, a parking lay-by, and we'll make that have a different grading from the existing road channel, just to show you how that works. So our first road widening we designed with the channel tools. So we were able to add a parallel option, a road widening, miters for where we have wider corners, but we're going to use the secondary channel tools. So we'll select this channel here, and then we can pick the option to add a widening to allow us to use that different grading. With the snap tools again, we can just click where it is we want that widening to occur and just use the widening again to select where we're going to make the road narrow again. So just 3 clicks and we can apply the changes. It asks us which grade, so we'll just use the same grade but in reverse, and that's been added in there. So we can see by the contours that that grading is in reverse, but if we also just zoom in here and just exaggerate to the 1 in 5, we get to see that level of detail that's being built into the triangulation, not just on the grading there, but also the curves and everything else that's included. I'll switch that back and zoom out, and you may notice that there's also a few other things included on this design. We've got some dashed blue and brown lines there for our storm and sewer drainage that's been laid out, and if we look underneath the design we can see that there, and we have these couple of icons here, a red and yellow warning circle. If we click on the review all design alert options, it tells us that there's been a pipe clash. So we've got 2 conduits that are intersecting and we probably need to reposition them. So one of them is critical and one of them is a warning where they're close together or where they're actually intersecting. So we'd want to try and fix that up. But very useful tool that XPSITE can show you exactly what's going on there. So if we move finally back to our finished design, we've only been able to show you a few of those channel tools, but if we zoom in to the 3D view here, we've seen the speed bump already. Around this corner we've actually got some vertical changes to the profile, which you can see with the contours to make sure that's appropriate for driving on. So that's been added in there. We've got parts of the housing development here set up for car parking. We've also got some footpaths included in the design. Obviously those houses have been included. Now our roundabout's got 3 proper islands added in as well. So a lot of tools there that we've used to edit the roads, and then probably a bit easier to see on the plan here that we've got the ponding option as well, and also these the setting out information. So each road has its own table with all the details you would expect, and then at the bottom here, because we've included the drainage, which we did have a quick look at, but a bit easier to see if we exaggerate that, so we can see the drainage layout and also the pond in the to the right hand side of the screen there. So we've also got the manhole diameters and all the details for those manholes that we can include on the actual drawing. In future webinars we'll show you how easy it is to add all these features to your model. And then finally we would want to look at the output. So as well as drawing files, which you would expect, you can also take this information to shapefiles, Google Earth, so you can lay this design over a Google Earth image back into 12D. The drainage, sorry, that's the import menu, very similar. Here we've got the options to save out, as I mentioned, shapefiles, drawing files. The drainage can go out to a number of different formats, also to XML, and then our surface can be exported as well, even to a GPS system to get that information onto site, onto those machines that we would need. So there we just covered adding in a road widening as an example of one of our advanced design tools. We reviewed some of the other XPSITE3D tools that we didn't have time to show today. And just to remind you hopefully what you've seen here how the engineering of those roads is built in a way that means there's not a large amount of details and editing to do, but those details can be edited at every place where you would need to. The automated junction and roundabout design obviously is a big time saving option, and you'll have seen their easy to use and intuitive workflow as we've moved through the design there, which will help you save time on your models and designs. So having seen the software, if you're interested in a trial license, you can download that directly from our website. There was an evaluation form to fill in. And if you want to actually see the software demonstrated in more details, find out any more about any aspects we can show you today, you can either contact our sales email address there, or you can actually email me. My email address is on the next slide. And we'll be looking to do some future webinars where we cover advanced roundabout design, look at the construction tools in more detail, junction design, and a number of the other things that we were only able to briefly mention today. So thank you for joining us for our webinar.